Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more waterfowl patterning. And today we've got another new shell that we've never tested, and it's one that I expect to see some really nice results from. We've tested several other waterfowl shells from this company with some fantastic results, and I expect the same out of these as well. But as for the shells I've brought out here today, I've got some of these. Now although these are not in a fancy package, these are a Salt Creek custom shell. They are a 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/4 ounce load of bismuth number 4s, moving about 1250 feet per second. And here's one of those shells out of the bag. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell on camera, but they do have a pretty nice looking wad in there with quite a bit of buffer material, so they should perform really well. And considering what we've seen out of bismuth waterfowl shells in like the vintage load series and stuff from Salt Creek so far, these ones should also do very nicely. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out the Remington 1187 with its factory stock modified choke. I talked to Keith from Salt Creek, and he said anything from a modified to a full choke generally does pretty well with these shells. So I figured we'll start here and see what we get, and we can move up or down from there based on what kind of patterns we actually do see. So this modified choke and 1187 combo should give us a very nice starting point to work from. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual for these. I've got the big sheet of paper with the duck target on it set up at 40 yards. I've also got the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of the shell. So let's get you guys a view of this target and take the shot and see just what kind of a pattern we're able to get from the Salt Creek 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/4 ounce bismuth 4s. I expect to see a pretty nice looking pattern, but let's head over here and see what kind of results we get. Alright, so that shell gave us 1327 through the chrono. It says that their claim is 1250, but we do have a 28-inch barrel, so we could have seen just a touch more than what they tested, depending on what kind of setup they tested it through. Either way, low 1300s is still well within the realm of reason for these shells, especially for a waterfowl load. You're going to be carrying plenty enough energy down there for ducks and stuff at 40 yards with a bismuth 4 at that kind of velocity. So definitely nothing too strange to see up here as far as our velocity reading, but what kind of a pattern did it give us down at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what we got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we do still have a dead duck here. There is one through the brain and a couple more through the body, but I believe the main majority of our pattern is just a touch low and maybe just a touch right. But as you can see, there's really not much area except maybe the top left corner on that paper that duck would be able to fly to and get away from you. It's definitely a little bit more of a broad and open pattern, but it's not super splotchy or all over the place or just strings everywhere or anything like that. It's a pretty uniform pattern, and the couple voids that it might have in it are not big enough for any kind of waterfowl to get through. So I definitely think this modified choke was a good starting point for us, because although you could absolutely take this combo out and be successful at some waterfowl hunting with it, I think some people might want just a touch more constriction to condense that pattern down just a tiny little bit more. So maybe something like an improved modified would really be the ticket for these. Now, as for the pattern we do have, it is definitely way better than the vast majority, if not all, the steel waterfowl loads we've tested straight off the big box store shelf. So we definitely have a lot of promise in this pattern. If we tune that in with the right choke, we are really going to have a hard shell to argue with, that's for sure. Now, I think this would be pretty much the perfect type of pattern for those of you that are going to be decoy hunting at 20, 25 to 30 yards or so, with maybe the occasional 40-yard reach. That pattern's going to be about perfect. So I really like how that looks, but I definitely want to try it with a little bit more constriction, because I think we can get it a little bit hotter in the core for those of you that like a little bit tighter or more condensed pattern. But I mean, if we get up close here, the biggest void area is this top left corner, but that is on the very extreme outskirt edges of the pattern, and considering I think we were just a touch low and a touch right, I really don't think we should count that as a void, because I just think it's the outer extreme edges of the pattern. But throughout the main majority area of the pattern here, there's really nothing to take super note of. That duck would get hammered with a good handful of pellets pretty much no matter where he is on the bottom 2/3 of that paper. So overall, definitely a very solid pattern, but I think, at least for my personal taste, we can tune this in a little bit better. But once again, it seems like we're off to a very nice start with the Salt Creek shell. They really seem to know what they're doing when it comes to turkey and waterfowl shells and stuff like that, because that's already a nice pattern, and considering we can even get a little bit better out of it, I think these are going to turn into a really, really nice shell. So thumbs up from me today, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more tests with it to see what we can really get out of it. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and a little bit interesting. It's one of these big two-petal, kind of split in half style wads. I don't see these very often, but when we do see them, they seem to be some pretty consistent performers. But this one, I mean, there's no damage, there's nothing stuck down in there. It opened up about as perfectly as you could ask for it to, so I definitely think it did exactly what it was supposed to, and we should continue to see some nice results out of this wad as well. So definitely nothing too strange to see here as far as this one goes. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? It is absolutely a usable 40-yard duck pattern all day long. It is a touch more on the open side compared to some of the other waterfowl shells and combos and stuff we've tried from Salt Creek, but this is just the starting point. We can absolutely go up and choke a little bit and condense that down really nicely. But even as it is right now, it's not doing anything weird. It seems pretty consistent throughout most of the pattern, and it seems like we can really tune that in with the right choke as well. So we should be able to get some really nice results out of this shell. Some really even and uniform patterns. I think stepping up to an improved modified, or who knows, maybe even a full choke, might really dial in these shells. That is a great pattern for a decoy hunter though right there. It's going to give you that little bit more leeway in at those closer ranges while still being able to reach out and take the little bit farther shot if needed. So at the end of the day, very nice starting point to work from. Definitely not a pattern we can really complain about. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of Salt Creek's waterfowl shells or anything? Would you hunt with that kind of a pattern, or would you want to see it tuned in just a little bit more, maybe a little bit hotter of a core or something? And maybe is there another choke you might want to see us run those shells through? I've got an improved modified, I've got a full choke, I've got the Pattern Master Black Mamba that we can try it through. I think all of those would really bring these shells to life more so than what we already saw here. So if that's something you want to see, then let me know all that down below in the comments. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.